Okay. So here we are. Finally, us just talking us and not Robert in there. And what Polly Branch here, there she is, there she is this is, we're on her porch. Come on, Polly, sit down. Get in the picture. And Polly is an artist I've known for almost 15 years now. Time flies.
Mm-hmm.
And Polly's a person is a, one person make it happen kind of thing, right? And she has been instrumental in her own amazing kind of way to make things happen. And we're right now at a crossroads in Roanoke. And why I'm still in Roanoke is Roanoke's like the microcosm of the United States, right? And so if we can make things happen here, we can make them happen anywhere. And all of the kind of craziness of disruption and cross, cultural dynamics are right here. This ain't a cracker town. This is a really diverse kind of place. And Polly, talk about diversity and art and what you've been doing here and and what you see the problems are and what you think the opportunities are.
So, as a hometown girl, lived up in the woods as a kid, and still have that blessing now. Um, I grew up in a bubble. Didn't didn't know what was across town, much less across the world going on. So until I was in high school and college, and was introduced to Amnesty International, that kind of opened my eyes to the
Worldview.
cruelty of humanity and our histories, and so recognize that those that I noticed around me doing work were the Quakers, the Catholic workers, coalitions for peace and justice. In the 80s, there was a focus on reducing nuclear weapons, um, and encouraging setting some of those standards. Of course, trying to get the United States to stop their weapons production was the obvious way you guide by leading the way, exemplifying. And so from there on, we have to question ourselves: who's leading the way, who's being the example.
Who's the white hat and who's the black hat? And is there even a white hat and black hat?
There are bad habits. There are a bunch of humans who have evolved to this state, and some of us have been blessed to not. I haven't been abused like my brown and black brothers and sisters
And poor people.
and poor people.
So you haven't been pushed into the fight or flight mode or the traumatized, always in fear mode.
Right. And I have sisters and friends who practice yoga and breathing and nutrition, and have had the time to make that a simple part of life. And people who are in constant anxiety or trauma, abuse, fear, they don't necessarily have the time.
Even breathe.
Yeah. And if you're in an area of town that doesn't have access to good food or the habits of gardening, um, or the land resources, then there's generations growing up without the basic um,
They can't
experience
even
of
they
being
can't even
this.
see a rose
Yeah,
in their neighborhood.
yeah. The concept of an abundant earth isn't there in the cities that have been wiped out or demolished or crowded. Um, and in a small city where there aren't art galleries or museums and places to freely go to educate your children for free, um, then we have to look at what's happening, what is available. And so I've been investigating. Better late than never, Polly. Um, the experiences of families in the Northwest and Northeast of Roanoke, making friends where I hadn't before, and sharing the common desire for kindness and peace and justice, and recognizing that um, in my city or in my area, valley, um, there's the the discrimination and prejudice is more widespread than I ever realized.
Because it's so diverse. It's not like just racism. The prejudice is on almost every level.
Right, because we all have our own personal biases. I guess that's where we have to begin, right?
Right.
So
Hmm.
once we realize we have bias, then it's okay to maybe point out to our leaders that we've chosen to guide and represent us if there are some biases within that system. And then the hard part is not getting into defense mode. So,
Right.
conflict resolution, nonviolent communication skills, the skills that peace and justice activists have been developing since the 60s and 70s, they're still valid. They're still here. It's still true. We've just come so far into this new digital world of information and
Distraction.
distractions and market and winner take all and game shows and cop shows, and oh my gosh, it's people. So if you can't ground in nature,
And in yourself. And
right?
in your brother and sister, that you see them as a competition rather than a community.
Yeah. So that amount of stress and helplessness, or um, it's weighing on all of us, right? So now everybody's in post traumatic stress disorder, as well as people who really have, you know, been a
Traumatized.
victim
Right.
of the system. Um,
And the thing we were talking about last night is how even the oppressor is oppressed by their oppression, and they don't even know that. And it causes this group institutionalized psychoses that is considered normal, you know?
yeah, every human being, whoever you are, whatever income level you are, whatever job you have, we can only evolve by self awareness. And so yes, if one doesn't even realize they're in a system that is based on a historical pattern that can change. It's based on a domination, winner take all.
Motif,
Yeah, what did you call it? Business plan?
right? Business plan, yeah.
And
And it creeps into every element, like religions and social structures, not just businesses, businesses, manifested in a more slick, sophisticated way to monetize everything, but so does everything else, you know.
yeah, well, because I think we originally we want our wise people, our elders, our leaders to be the examples.
But they're not.
Well,
They're,
they are.
but they should be, but they're not.
Right. I mean, they are bad
Right,
examples, is what I
right,
mean.
right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
And therefore, the churches and the schools and the kids and the parents are learning, or are admitting, or
exposed and
exposed and
traumatized.
traumatized. And it's like, well, if that's the way they do it, then
I'll have to do it too.
so that's a bad way of evolving humanity.
Right.
So, luckily, there are
Alternatives.
millions of people who have been studying their traditions, principles of human rights, and basic living simply so that others can simply live, which basically means an abundant earth has
Enough for everybody.
resources. Yeah, that God gave us freely,
Right.
food, water, and fresh air.
Hmm. Which is not supposed to be commoditized.
No,
It's supposed to be for everyone, and we're supposed to equally share it.
exactly. So that was the simple plan, and the simpler our plans, the easier it is to come together, supposedly.
So here we are, and like I said, we've known each other for maybe 15 years, and we're both artists, but we're social activists, meaning our art kind of revolves around trying to get people to work together, right? And so here we are. It's spring, and it's a new, putting the seeds in the ground, and our city actually has. That's good.
You could do you.
Yeah, okay, I'll lean in. Our city has the resources to bring art out to the community, but just because of inertia, it doesn't really happen. Because art, I think, is the number one mechanism to bring forth the human experience. I call it the artist in the first person, the savage. You're not thinking about yourself, you're just thinking about the creativity and sharing that expression. Why does the guy put the image on the cave? Because he wants to share that expression, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that shared experience, that's where love's co-creation occurs, and that's when human nature can step up to its free will. So here we were talking about. So there's all these little committees and groups, and like I said, Roanoke is this unbelievable, diverse place, and yet instead of coming together, certain powers that shouldn't be use the divide and conquer motif to control power amongst themselves.
Yeah, but we have to be careful when we make statements like that.
Okay, so take it from there.
Because ultimately we have to
Be empowered ourselves.
be empowered ourselves and be able to look in the other's eyes, whoever they
Other
are, and believe there could be a heart opening, a heart connection, a question, a comment, an example that can help the other person see in a different way.
So last
without
night
being defensive.
you were in an environment where you were attempting to do that.
Yeah. So last night was a circle of people that didn't know each other, and basically the purpose was to facilitate going around the circle and giving everyone a chance to respond to a prompt question, such as what faith did you grow up in, or philosophy that you might want to share with us tonight. And as we go around the circle with different prompt questions, we'll see our differences and our similarities, and um, build upon some of those questions. It wasn't just one table, it was 22.
Oh.
So this
how many
is the
people
third.
how many people at each table?
9.
Oh, well, that's a lot of folk.
7 to 9. Not all of them were filled. Not everyone showed up. So this was the third session called Changing the Narrative, which is based on a program, a national program that our local volunteer group called Points of Diversity has found. And that work is based off a global group called Democracy. Oh, darn it. Not Democracy Now!
No, that's a good. I like it. Democracy. Oh, darn it! And that's a good name. I like it.
Okay. And so you can get pamphlets, you can get toolkits, right?
Mm-hmm.
The communication skills, listening skills, sharing with people that you have not ever experienced before, awakening each other to different people's experiences in a non-judgmental way, or in a listening, curious way, in order to hopefully develop non-judgment.
So how did that go?
I thought it was great. Everybody at the table, I think, thought it was great. Well, maybe not one, which is normal.
Right.
And that's part of the point. Such as the lawyer who was sitting next to me indicated to that woman who shared, part of what she shared was that she was there just to talk about or faith, or that's what she wanted to talk about. That, and for some reason she said that she thought Trump was doing a really good job. So I don't think we need to talk about politics at the table, because I guess I had brought up the fact that a lot of the interfaith groups that I had worked with for the last 30 years were working then in the mid 80s on racism and discrimination, and trying to resolve some creative opportunities, or open up some creative opportunities here in Roanoke, with a location in a building called the Dumas um, Hotel, which is on Gainsborough Street, which was the economic center, the village, the cool hipster place in the 60s and 70s
And it was in the
African
50s and
American.
the Jim Crow
Oh yeah,
days,
right,
the center of the black economy.
exactly. So the comparable white village in our town is called Grandin, and everybody loves it, and it's
Right.
like a,
But it had, when I got here and you were doing things in the park, that was a pretty stumble-bum neighborhood. Things were boarded up. There, a lot of those houses were single-room occupancy, kind of crash pads. It's only in the last 15, 20 years that it has become a stylish place to live.
So resources have, and people with resources
Have
and
fluxed in there.
with wealth from
Other places.
inheritances and other places have loved coming to this part of the world, and the beautiful beauty that we have. We do still have plenty of trees
And mountains and
sun.
water, and
Yeah.
and we have the Blue Ridge Parkway and the French, the Roanoke River, and
right, and a big emphasis on then
the natural.
yeah, highlighting those areas. So we
And Floyd,
developed a
Virginia, up the
greenway.
hill, right?
Yeah, the connection with the rural neighbors, and our survival herbalists, and community supported agricultural permaculturalists
That
who
have
have
been here a
been
long time too.
studying their
This
practices,
ain't just a
their life.
Johnny come lately kind of thing.
No, exactly. So those, that part of the family has been the consistent ones. Some people call them hippies, but it's like basically simple people keeping it simple.
Right.
And so where was I? So anyway, the fact that our African American neighbors have not been given the resources, or have not had the influx,
and also their poor white brothers too.
And
because you look at the statistics, there are actually more poor white people in that category that people would think is black folk kind of thing.
Right. Right.
As you go into Melrose and that whole, Rugby, that whole neck of the woods, it's 30% black and 60% white.
Right.
So, but they're all in the same socioeconomic group, and they all have the same social issues: poor education, poor healthcare.
And if
food,
a city doesn't recognize the needs of the poor,
right,
and put more resources in that direction, as opposed to maintaining connections with philanthropists or investors that want to build the internal structure in the city, which is all valid, but we have to make our choices, and we need our leaders to really look.
Well, it's getting to that point of a discrepancy in wealth, because
opportunity,
right, and because this town was a town of transportation, innovation, and manufacturing, and now all that industry has gone and been replaced by, in the last 20 years, by Carilion as a health center, right? And it's there because they're economically, in real estate terms, bringing in people. There are a lot of people from all over the country realizing that this neck of the woods is a great place to retire. You can buy a nice house for like a tenth of what it would cost anywhere else. They have all that infrastructure of health and hiking and stuff, right? And so that neighborhood, Melrose, which is predominantly black and poor white folk, is being gentrified. 10th Street, they just stuck $8 million into refurbishing that street. Like cuts that neighbor right in half and, facilitates that gentrification. And no one's kind of realizing that these people who they're disenfranchising are really a valid resource. And so Roanoke is this kind of little neighborhood that really represents the rest of the United States. The same problems that are here are all across, meaning with the advent of artificial intelligence and robots, the next 10 years, we're going to see about truck drivers, cabbies, people of that, your McDonald will be handed to you by a robot. I mean, close to, 20 million jobs are going to be gotten rid of in the next 10 years. And no one's talking about it. It's like, where are these people going to go? And Roanoke is a great example of that. So I would say 40% of the population, this group who want to change what is going to be here, just sees them. Oh, we'll just, sweep them away. I don't think so. It's a criminal waste of those people. B, they're not going to go happy anyway.
Right. What pattern is that perpetuating? That we're forgetting they're not supposed to be doing that anymore.
Right. The imperial pattern that we've had for the last 2,500 years that has caused nothing but, waste of resources and lots of death.
Exactly. And it's created some really sick and sad people.
Yep.
So, that makes it even harder, of course.
Right.
Because now they can claim that these people are even less worthy.
Right.
Less human.
Right.
But we have to say, no, they're even more.
More valuable.
Because until we heal the poor, what are the biblical statements? But
the thing is, the real poor is not just those poor people on the street. It's the poverty in the rich person's heart.
Right.
And that poor person on the street.
Because the person, say that again. The leaders, right. The corporations, right. Who have forgotten that the earth is supposed to be abundant and
for everyone
equally.
Right, and not commoditized and owned and controlled.
Right. So they have a heart block.
Right.
And who's the heart block guy? See, there's this whole other millions of people who are studying some really fascinating things about the human body.
Right.
And about the way that we've been distracted all these decades.
Centuries.
With these problems,
eons.
right?
Eons.
Fighting each other.
Yep, eons.
Mine, and not developing our beautiful, amazing cells.
Right.
So, luckily there are, I'm guessing we've made it this far because there's been enough
a lot of people right.
meditating
right.
and holding the balance and
of
connection.
Love. Right.
And
so I talk a lot to the cadre.
Marianne Williamson is running for president.
Yes. She's interesting. And most people would listen to her go, what kind of fruitcake is this?
So what?
Yes.
Man, they've always been here. We always have been here. And not all of us have the guts to actually go for president of the United States.
Right. And she's the woman who wrote about the Course in Miracles, right? Yeah. And so, and that's an amazing book if any of you ever read it.
Because that's all about self-awareness and a connection to a higher power or a higher sense of self in the universe and the basic principles of dignity and human rights and loving one another.
And it was written, in a, what do they call it when autonomic writing kind? I mean, there is no Larry wrote this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the collective conscious of love wrote this book. And it has a textbook, a workbook, and a teacher's guide. I mean, I used to teach that course.
Right. Every time, I don't know if you said it before, but, we need a Humans 101 course.
Right.
People have been putting them out there.
Right.
We just have to study them and practice.
And
practice together.
And more people are coming into this, but that it's almost like an automatic thing of that structure who wants to control, they try to turn it into a product, turn it into a Twinkie, or like when that back in the day before hippies, we were flower children. We weren't hippies. We will love beads and put flowers in each other's hair, and then you could buy them at Sears, and they were made out of plastic. Which is not so bad, but you should have kept the stringing the beads yourself and not get them anyway.
And you who still bead, keep doing it.
Yeah, right. We
teach
the two of us,
a little one somewhere.
Right. And the thing is that the commoditization of everything has a only seeming, tremendous power over everything. It's just seeming, and people want to get that instead of opening up their heart and sharing. And they don't realize how much that is, And that's, what Polly and I so I were artists because that's one of our tools. It enables, like, she does these murals all around the city, and she doesn't do it by herself. She gets people to do it with you. And I think, I can't speak for you, but I think you do it because you like that interaction. I think you keep doing this because you like that interaction. I mean, that's why I do it. People.
Well, I'm just still learning how to interact with people and realize, catch up with these different perspectives and realizations that people have forgotten a lot. And how can we gently and gracefully remind each other that we're all in this together?
Yep.
And what can I do now? What
what's the next thing? Yep.
Or who can I encourage if I don't have the time? If you or
the best way to encourage is just be the good example. Yes, right. Let go.
Or what can we stop doing?
Right.
What we can only look at our own habits.
Yep.
And if there's any hint of bias or
habituality,
violence, or we just have to look at it.
Yep, we have to look at ourselves.
And maybe redefine some words.
Well, words are important because people use them so inappropriately. I hate it when people take words that I used to use and turn it into something else, like progressive and liberal, and I can't even use those words anymore. I mean, why do they do that?
Well, they took the word
peace
and
turned it into war.
How do they use it? Peacemakers?
Yes.
No. Freedom fighters.
Yes, it's like.
Yeah, so we're all brainwashed, but that's not an unknown human skill from the past. We've been manipulated by kings and queens and cardinals and
at
lords
least
and
last 16,000 years. Yes, and they're all snake oil salesmen.
And it's in our partly in our DNA in a way, as far as our reactions or anticipation, maybe, or trust.
Anticipation. I think
classification.
Yeah. Instead of just being open, and I think one of my great gifts is I'm just a naive person. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to hurt me or rip me off. But I've been taught.
I mean, I wouldn't call you naive. I might be naive. You've had more experience.
Well, I've been on the street a little bit more. Yes, this is true. But and I had really good teachers to watch your phone there. Who were I loved Ronald Reagan with the trust but verify.
Oh.
So I'm always looking down the street 3 blocks.
Globally, you mean?
Well, and whatever he does, he's we're gonna do this good, but I'm gonna make sure you do that. Right. So, and that's kind of me. I'm watching what's coming at me. I don't let things get in my grill. I'm pretty good at getting out of harm's way.
Exact, and not judging what's coming your way.
Right. Just saying, okay, I'm just gonna move over here and watch it go by and see what it is.
But if one is in the habit of saying, "Oh no, they are coming,"
yep,
and then
they're picking on me, and it's all their fault, and that's why my life sucks. No,
fight, flight,
right?
Some sort of reaction,
right?
And that's what these practices of breathing,
meditation, yes,
all the common denominators from all the spiritual practices of the world is about not letting that
Get in your face.
thing get there.
Buddha's
Or
on the
having
side
to
of the street.
prove that
Yeah, you're
you're
wrong and I'm right. Right.
Yeah. Which often comes just from
Fear, from fear.
Yeah, and probably a family and world as a child that did not foster love and appreciation.
And if there was, it was a kind of transactional. That love was like almost like a business. There, I'm going to give you this if you give me that.
So we all come from different emotional understandings and levels of self-awareness, and all we can do is just ask the right questions to
Right.
ourselves
And breathe.
and breathe,
And breathe. Right.
or ask any question, I guess.
So, gang,
just question. Be curious.
there's one of you. So, what's your question? Here's your responses. See, they're responding over here.
Oh.
This is so true. Hi, Al. Hi. Got love for you. Tell me, stay up. Okay, we're always up.
Mm-hmm.
We're the two most up people, at least that are on this porch at this minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what about you guys? We've just talked.
Can they even hear us?
Oh yeah, no, they can hear us.
Talking.
No, they can hear us. No, they can hear us. And we've been talking now for 31 minutes. But they're from all over the place. Some of these people, it's like 4 a.m, and some it's like 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's the interesting thing about my cadre. They're from everywhere. They're not like a tribe. They're a cadre rather than a tribe. They don't all believe the same thing.
They're individuals.
Pretty much. Oh boy, are they ever. Right. So tell us, guys, how individual are you? Mutate. What's so individual about you, Chris? What's your individual thing? What was that? Chris Garrett?
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm pretty blind. I thought it said Chris Carrot.
Oh, well.
It could be. Yes.
That'd be a fun nickname.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful night on the porch, and I still have my Barry White voice.
Right, I've gotten used to it. I've forgotten that you're actually sick. I'm
right,
sorry.
Right. Well, I've got this like 1970s Barry White music playing in the background there in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Do. Who loves you, baby? Come on, Chris. Be a little more.
This is earlier in the day than you normally do it.
Yeah. Well, no, I do a morning one and a night one.
Oh.
And the night one, I come on around 7 to 9 o'clock.
So how do people know you're even here?
Well, they subscribe, and there's a little bell
Oh.
that rings. That's how this works.
They get a bell.
Bing. Yep.
Owl's here.
Yep. I have about 300 people of what I call the cadre. So there's the cadre that I don't like calling people subscribers. It's like, it's like a business plan. But I call them the cadre. And then the people who go on the chat, I call the chorus. Right? And then usually I'll do, if enough people show up, I'll do a guided meditation. And I call them the shock troops of love. Because, we can have about 10, 12 people on the chat. And I said, okay, I'll see a consensus of a subject. I'll say, okay, we're going to do a meditation now. And a number of them kind of bail. They don't want to. They get a little, because pretty much everyone who goes in the chat, they go someplace that they've never been before. Sometimes it's like, whoa, they can't,
Sure.
Right, it's beyond their worldview there, someplace.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can look at the trees and take a deep breath.
Yep. It's pretty nice. Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's all you got to do is breathe. When you're delivering baby, which is probably the most painful thing a woman can go through, and also a glorious thing, what do they say? Breathe. They don't say read a book. They say Right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
Breathing is a mechanism that the body needs to move
Right.
its fluids and its
Everything.
and energy
It's chi,
molecules. It's
chi, and it brings in the prana from the higher realms.
Yeah,
And
because you can create a vacuum.
Yep.
Different patterns that you can learn.
right, and breathing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a YouTube for that. And
Yeah.
and actually, if you stick around long enough and more enough, you guys will do it tonight. I mean, that's what I do in the guided meditation.
Yep.
But-
Yep. So what are other tools? So we've got meditation, which is spilling, clearing, right? Emptying,
Right.
detox your brain for 5 minutes.
Shutting
or whatever,
up
right?
the squirrel in your head.
Oh my goodness.
You
yeah.
know?
It's not easy to do, but it is easy to do actually. If it just matter of remember. So I know I guess I started getting into it as a driver, as a vehicle owner who was on the road all the time, almost every day, right? It was like, okay, if I can get to my destination and back home each day without judging anybody on the road,
Stressing or screaming at them or flipping them off.
right? Wouldn't that be a good goal?
Yep, that's a
'Cause
very
I
good
was a
goal.
little overwhelmed with all the things I was learning, and I was not knowing how to keep up with it or be disciplined or anything. It's like, okay, all right, breathe in and exhale a smile.
Right.
So, okay, so who said that? Deep, Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathing in, I
Yep.
calm myself. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in this moment. I know this is a beautiful moment. Releasing.
Well, we just released right there.
So relaxing. I mean, that's
Yep.
the physical aspect of what's happening. And when muscles are relaxed, it feels better, right?
Yeah, yep.
When molecules
Are flowing.
are flowing in a relaxed manner, the blood can flow,
Yep.
the lymph can flow,
Yep.
the adrenals, everything can flow. So when we get out of whack, and we get years out of whack,
Ooh.
so that's okay.
Yep.
What I've discovered, I mean, I'm still here, so
We're learning.
yeah. And when I say to myself at night, I don't know if this is true or real or not, but I want to believe that in this moment I am pure and whole and healthy and beautiful. I mean, even if I know I've messed up somewhere.
Yeah, but that's water under the bridge.
Right.
This minute, I'm doing better.
Yeah. And so you've heard of the placebo
Effect. Yep.
Or what do other people call it? You know,
I don't know what else they call it, but that's when you do something that.
or you can also learn things
Well,
by
there's-
repetition,
And also the power of positive thought.
power. Right.
You know,
I'm putting it in different titles because different people can judge it and not.
Come on, get out of there.
You need to stand up.
No, I'm good.
Picture.
No. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Release.
Yep.
Release. I wish I had a cold pond you could jump into, or a sweat lodge.
We need to make one. Does your
You want some tea?
yeah, that'd be nice. You know what? There's a one of those plastic bottles that has salt water in it. It's right there on the sink. See it? Yep. That actually works very nicely.
Mm-hmm. Go to the ocean.
Yep. And there's that soup in the blender if you want it.
probably freak people out.
Mm.
Clear that out.
Yeah. What?
How that came because of your.
So I had an abscess in my teeth, right? So I have to have all my teeth ripped out. And I've had a lot of them ripped out. And so they gave me a ton of antibiotics. And I'm a guy who doesn't take antibiotics. I kind of meditate my wellness, but I couldn't get rid of it when I was out in the deep green. So I took the antibiotics, and it killed, every flora and fauna in my gut. So I'm trying to rebuild it. So the antibiotics not only went after the infection there, but whatever little infection I had in the rest of my body, it went after everything. And when I was born, I was strangled by my mom's umbilical cord. And that's what this is. This is going back 60 years. So instead of like, oh, I hate this, I am allowing myself to let go of that strangulation trauma. It's a little disgusting, but hey, such is life.
I'll go do a little dance turn behind over your shoulder.
Okay, do a little dance over the shoulder. There you are. Anyway, well, there's two of you watching. So this is a nice little, and that's the beauty of Roanoke. What we aren't more than 10 miles to downtown, would you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this neck of the woods. It's really beautiful. See, there she is. She's moving.
I'm trying to remember the Sunday meditation.
You're doing it. It's the extension of step and sweep. So Polly has two nice black cats and a very sweet dog. And she was nice enough to let me sleep on her couch last night. So I had to go get my eyes operated early this morning. And she drove me there because I was, after I had that operation, I'm basically blind. My eyesight's coming back. And it was kind of interesting because I was like, coughing like that on the operating table. And my doctor was so cool because see what she's doing? I taught him how to do the same thing. So as I was, coughing like that, he started to do the Tai Chi move I taught him so he could be patient and calm himself because, he's sticking this big thing in my eyeball. When I start coughing like that, it's like, but, you can do anything. And I feel myself much better than I did last night. So, so I cough like that and I'm coughing up my strangulation of my birth, So there used to be this place in Grandin, and when was the Grandin Gardens? What was that? 6 years ago? 7 years ago?
2007.
Yeah, so 7, 8, 9 years ago, however long that was. Anyway, but it was really great. That was that was a special time. Because that was a really great. We used to do drum circles and have fires, and a lot of people were gardening there. And there was a restaurant that this kid had. What was that place called? Local Roots. And it was like before, from farm to table. It was that, and it was really fun. About How long did that whole scene last? About a year, you think?
I think it was 2006, 7, 8, 9.
Right. And then Grandin became the hip place to be, and it became more hip. And that's what happens. And you know what I?
Not really more.
Oh yeah,
It's
come on.
convenient down there.
Yes, more convenient. That's I think that's in 2,000 years when they go. So what happened to that society? What was its death knell? The two things that will be seen as our death knell will be convenience and belief. People would sell their mother's eye teeth for convenience, to get that parking spot closer to the door, But so were you part of the co-op when they'd unload the trucks? Everybody'd get out there, and it's more like a people's kind of place than.
I was a kid. That was in closer to downtown Roanoke,
Right.
And so it was the inner
city
artists back to putting gardens in your front yard, cut people, and
because now the co-op is like whole earth
and regional. So
right.
All the farming
mm-hmm.
families would come to Roanoke,
bring this stuff
in that collaborative cooperative, and get their big bulk bags of monthly supplies.
And it lasted pretty much until, because I remember, who was that woman who used to sell all the vegetables under the big tree? She'd have, right where Pete's garden is, right there in the parking lot, that big tree between the two buildings he had.
Oh,
there was a lady who
I might have missed that year. Rachel.
Yeah, it might have been
Morelli.
Yeah.
Or Nancy.
I don't know who was
we
it.
have some dedicated families
right.
for sure, and individuals. And so from that project, they hosted the Earth Day Festival when I came back into that scene. And so there were a bunch of permaculturalists. How do you say that?
Yep.
Studying and practicing, sharing together, and doing, wanting to do a collective urban project. And got it started, did workshops, taught people, shared information, began those gardens, which are still there today, which also reached out across the street to the
that international, that there's an apartment building that has all kinds of people from the
Nepal.
Mid-East, Nepal. And they were great. I mean, they still kind of garden over there.
I hope so.
They do.
I hope so.
Even though that whole thing doesn't exist anymore.
A new restaurant came in.
No, I don't mean that. I'm talking about the garden and the collective and people doing all that kind of. And we used to do ceremony.
We did great characters go in there.
Yep.
Yeah, we should write that story.
Yeah. But we did Polly did a Ouroboros labyrinth, and the parking lot, and there was you, me, and what was that guy's name? Have you ever seen him again? Yeah, started with a B.
Brandon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we did that, and it was truly amazing because I had my throwaway cameras. That was my throwaway camera time. And when I had them developed, there were all these orbs and lights and creatures that were being called by our doing this little ceremony in the parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
And Polly and I think even Brandon felt it. I mean, he didn't quite understand it like we have a little history of that stuff.
Well, that's what the beauty of geometries and designs. Some peppermint.
Thank you, dear. Oh, yes. Having no teeth, it's hard to chew it. I'll just suck on it.
You smell it.
Yeah. So, let's see. Candace Flower. Wholeness, brothers and sisters. Yep. So what are your stories, gang? Let's hear something from you guys. Mr. Carrot was saying he couldn't talk because he was busy doing something and he almost dropped his phone into the the sink, I think. Anyway,
We are being kind of laid back.
yes.
We're not doing the quick and like
Which is kind of how this
spiritual, political
right,
conversations.
right. We're listening to the birds sing. This is my favorite time of day. This and sunrise, because it's.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give them a sunset.
You guys see that? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's the cat.
I don't know what.
And there's the dog and the other cat. Yeah, this is kind of like, I feel like Mom and Pop Kettle here. Yeah. Or something out of a Crosby, Stills and Nash song.
Oh, let's sing a song. What shall we sing? I do all those spiritual songs.
Yeah, come on, pick one. I'll sing along.
Well, I like All My Relations.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All my relations, I am one with you. In
all my relations,
I am
one with you.
In all
All
that
my
you teach
relations,
me, I give thanks
To
to
you,
In
all
all
my
that you teach
relations, me,
me, I give thanks to
you.
you. In my heart, I listen as I pray.
In my heart, I listen as I pray.
I know you are with
me.
me, guiding my way. I know
Oh,
you are with me, guiding my way. Four-legged, winged ones, creatures great and small. In humble honor, I will stand tall.
Oh,
Walking straight the path of harmony. All my relations, come walk with me.
Oh. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if we could just have that as our point of view as the human race, all our relations.
Yeah.
And because in reality, yeah, we're killing billions of species every day. It's like, forget about it, But in the big picture, it doesn't matter because they're not going anywhere. Just on this physical illusion plane, it looks pretty bad. But because, the only reason we're still here is that this is an illusion plane. Love's co-creation is the reality.
Yeah. Well, and I guess another way of looking at it is, if this is what I know or what I do, if I fuck up or if I die, I think this is what I'm gonna be doing.
Right. It's not a big
If
problem.
I can hold that song in my heart,
right,
in my mind.
Yep.
Even if I'm in a horrible position in a hospital bed somewhere.
Right. It doesn't matter.
Hopefully, I'm just gonna be blissing out.
Yep.
Anyway, that's not, not a mantra of mine or necessarily a belief system, but it does come up.
But it works.
We think about, what is our greatest fear?
Yeah, it's like death is like slipping out of a slipper. Now this isn't me. This is my bag of water. That's all it is.
And what neurons are playing out as you go, which.
But they're just a radio. They're just a radio.
Right.
I mean.
So when the soul.
The soul isn't here. The brain is just a Rolodex of stupid facts. The heart is the CPU, right? Science-wise, your brain gives up like 0.00 amps of electricity. Well, your heart is like a car battery. I mean, look what it takes to start to sucker up. So that is the main organ. That's the radio. And that's like sending, through our chakras, the golden thread up to wherever the server of our conscious free will is, And this is just, a thing to be in the sandbox to have experience. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can stay conscious to it, when you die, you're not going anywhere. You get another shot at whatever it is, and you can actually choose. You don't have to be thrown back as a stupid mud puppet. You can say, I want to be a little more conscious this time. So do you ever have, little flashbacks or deja vus of who you used to be?
I guess I've had a feeling of being a record keeper, a story keeper. Um, but I also had times, I think, when I had a lot of information that I thought needed to be shared, um, but I wasn't in the right body. I was the wrong person. I was hushed or
Right.
not acknowledged or
Not allowed.
not allowed. Um,
And you were kind of kept in that place by whatever circumstances you were in. I mean, right now, you and I are the two least kept people I know. I mean, we don't really let anybody tell us what to do or say. We just kind of go do our own thing, and people kind of go, "Well, that's just them." And appreciate that kind of things. It's like during the years that you did the
that's real freedom.
right, it
And
is
most people don't feel like they can
do that.
have freedom.
No, because they're stuck. We were talking about that, the flypaper
Yeah, but some
mentality.
people are threatened if they don't
Oh yeah,
do what they're
told.
supposed to do.
Yeah. Like the person who was talking about their religion and that was it. Their belief structure. So they're right. Everybody else is wrong.
I mean, so we're breaking. Some of us are blessed to have the creativity or the family or the resources, circumstances to contemplate all this stuff, right? And some people are like, you get to do that.
Well, I hear it a lot. I live in the real world, and I have to pay my bills, and I got to blah blah blah
Right.
blah 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 blah.
And you still have to survive and pay whatever bills.
Yeah, right. You're right.
You might just head to the woods.
It's like when I got these shoes last year. I got a pair of orthopedic shoes, and my Medicare covered it all. Right. So I went there, and they wore out, and they wanted $300 for these things, and they are the clunkiest, terriblest shoes. I could get a better pair. I did. I bought a pair at Walmart for $9, better than these. They wanted $300. So I said, well, I pulled out my wallet. I said, I have $1. I can give you $1. So they had me sign the thing saying that I would give them $1 a month for 300 days, 300 months. I said, sure, no problem. And that's kind of how I.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing when I was in the emergency room, a couple of weeks ago, because with these clunky shoes, a door grabbed my foot and knocked me down, and oh my God, oh, he's dying, oh. So they called the friggin', and I just said, well, go along with this just to see what kind of medical response this neighborhood has. So and I kept saying, so how much does this cost? And the guy wanted to put an IV line in me. I said, no, you're going to charge me like $300 for that. I don't need that. I don't need it. We have to sign this paper that you didn't, I said, sure, I'll sign it. I don't need it. And so the whole thing was about making money by giving me a service that I didn't need.
Which is based on a protocol.
Right.
Set by
insurance companies.
Mm.
Right. So, and so I asked the head nurse, so what's it cost to get out of this emergency room? And she goes, well, you can't get out of here for less than $500. I said, well, good luck with that. You're not. So she goes, so she kind of took my Medicaid card and that kind of shit. And then she goes, well, if you're that poor, well, then, we'll just forgive this and we'll sign you up for this other program over here, which you have to go do. So here, sign all these other papers. And it's just like all these places that we work through, like Goodwill and all those things, they just use all that paperwork, generate so they can make money out of grants and this and that. So I went over to these guys and my whole little journey of that day, I had the whole day to waste. So why the fuck shouldn't I? And all I did was tell them stories and give them insights on what they were doing. And some of them were like, well, let me look at your palm. I just read everyone's palm, and the head guy, social worker there, came over and goes, "Didn't you ever do that? You must have done this before." I said, "Duh. Why don't you give me your job? I'll do it better than you. You can go retire. I'll take your job. I need a job." Anyway, so I endeared myself to my neighborhood. It's not even a hospital. I sure wouldn't want to be really fucked up and have to be in that place. Ooh, scary. But they were nice enough to, put me on all their little programs, so I don't have to. It was like,
Yeah. Well, you were born with a bunch of gusto and developed self-confidence from
right,
all your
skill set. Yes.
and skills from all the influences you've had.
Yep.
So you easily can confront an awkward situation or a curious situation or not be intimidated by someone who's following a protocol that they think is necessary.
Well, they believe.
And they believe. And then you're confident enough
to confront, right, else's. and not be confrontational to them, but just show them. Like, so this doctor was taking care of me. I said, I explained how this was just a scam. He said, I never thought it was that way, but you're right.
Yeah.
I said, you should just do this job. Go get yourself a little van and drive around into the hollers. You could do a lot more good and probably make more money. So I left him thinking about that one. But he was scared. He said, "I can't do that." I said, "Okay."
Well, yeah. I mean, it does take a lot of creative figuring and juggling and relationship building if you're doing it, if you're out on your own.
Right. Right.
You don't get a paycheck.
Right. You don't get a paycheck. No paycheck.
You hope the resources will come, the checks will come.
Yeah, the money
here and there.
Right. You'll find that $120 you need in the cushions of your car.
The sell painting or skill that you provided a service for someone. And barter.
So here's one of the chorus, Jane. She's they're all interesting, but she's, if I stay on long enough, she'll show up. Hi, Jane. This is Polly. And
Grandma and Grandpa.
Yep. Kettles. Here we are. Kettle corn. That's us. We're sweet, sweet and crunchy. Yep. No, don't get me laughing. Oh, let's see.
Your soup is really good, by the way.
Yes, man, you can't beat a blender soup. It brings, you cook it nice and then throw it in that thing, it brings that extra niceness out of it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I have no teeth to chew, it's a big plus. Mm-hmm. And your body, I think, metabolizes it better that way. Yep. Yep. That was 1 onion and a bag of frozen bird's eye broccoli and carrots and potatoes.
Good stuff.
Yep, good stuff. So, we've been got another song there, Paul?
Well, we finish our Sufi dances with a song that because may all beings be well, may all beings be happy, peace, peace, peace. Okay. And with a group of 3 or 15 or 40, the harmonies are amazing.
Right. So here we go, kids. We're going to sing this. So sing along at home with
harmony.
Us. Sing at home along with us.
May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. Peace. 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 May well.
May
May
all
all
beings
beings
be
be
happy.
happy.
Peace, peace,
Peace.
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 Yeah,
So you get 4 or 5 part harmonies on that one.
yeah, that sounds good. And we used to do drum circles. They were loads of fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A bit more vibrant.
Are they still happening?
I don't know. Phyllis and Pepe wanted to move it to Saturday nights, and
In the circle in front of the church? Down? Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Phyllis was thinking that she might need to um, do both Thursday and Saturday, and I was like, well, just whatever one you can
Wants to
go
do.
to. 2 or 3 people have to be there
Right.
every week. You just got to do it, because
Well, who's our
otherwise,
brother who makes the drums out of joint compound buckets and coffee cans?
Norris.
Norris. You tell him when they're going to be there. He's the guy you can depend on.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and we'd get some pretty good drum circles once in a while.
Mm-hmm. The best ones were when people brought their hula hoops and
Right.
bubbles and kids
Yep.
and chalk.
Yep.
The big circle.
And the thing is just go do it. I keep asking the cadre to, in your neighborhood, start a drum circle, do a potluck dinner, do whatever. Just do it. Don't have any expectations of outcomes because I don't think anything we ever did. Did we ever have any real expectation of any of that? No. Just whatever came out of it is what came out of it. Even Earth Day, I don't think we even had expectations.
No, I had visions that I couldn't find the cadre to help
Right.
make happen, and you do have to be careful. One person can mess with the whole.
It's called being a Stalinist obstructionist.
Yeah.
That's what they call it in the circle of
Yeah.
organizers. Stalinist obstructionist.
So there's some long-term, 30-year organizations in this area that. I'm still friends with people, but I am a little frustrated that we didn't expand our
Or take off.
mission. Yeah.
Just that's one thing about this town. A lot of really great stuff happens here, but it gets to a place where you think you've already took off, but then it doesn't go any further than that. It's like when was it when there was almost a music scene here when there were like 5 or 6 clubs here?
Mm-hmm.
I guess in 2007 or 6 and, it was great for about a year or two. Now there's only one place left.
Wow, I think you're exaggerating again.
Well, I do that.
I don't go out, so I don't know.
Right. Well, there's
my
Blue
sister-
7. There's Blue
all the
7.
dancers, all the
That's true.
salsa.
Right.
And
Oh, that is great. Have you done that at that Italian restaurant on
I've
Campbell?
witnessed. Yeah, I've gone. Well, I went when they did one of the restaurants in the downtown market area. But yeah, I think that's a strong
Right.
group.
And that is great because it's like 40 women for 3 guys. There's a lot more women, so the women feel way more confident.
Oh.
Because it's like line dancing. You change partners
right
with each different song and different step the guy's trying to teach you.
The women would probably like a few more men around.
Yes, but I used to show up
dancers
pretty regularly, and what I got from them was that they felt confident that they weren't just as lecherous guys there. And I tried to bring guys there, and they said, "You guys are nuts. This is like." It's like 15 women for every, it's like, come on. I don't know. People can be just so in their flypaper. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. Peace, peace, peace. Yep. That's what we were saying. So have you been to the Floyd Fest? Was that ever a scene that you went to?
I went the first or second year.
Yes, that's when it was really good.
It did flood my tent.
Well, I don't know what the magic of that. Every time they do it, it's like a tornado goes through the place. That first year was unbelievable. They had mud up to your knees.
um,
But
but I always have fun as a kid. I usually do kid stuff,
right.
so crafts with the kids and the
But the
clothing,
first 3 years were
dress up.
great because the most fun part was we were building it. Chris and his wife, and a group. Bob the Builder, who's a woman up there who has that bakery, and she's a really great artist. Tall, very lanky.
Mm.
Her and about 5 other people. And we were the ones who I wired the thing. There was Dave, the electrician, but he was never there. I did well, and I had a crew of women who were doing all the work. So it was loads of fun. And the first 2 months before that event, that's when it was fun. When there was like about 30 people milling around, getting it together, and then the first year, there were a lot of people who brought hammock, selling stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and there weren't that many people, so everybody traded stuff.
Mm.
And I was the guru there, so I had my healing temple, giving people massages and guided meditations,
Nice.
and people giving me drums and hammocks
Mm-hmm.
and
Drumming going on. I must have been there the second year or something. But yeah, it was I was also down in the education
right
or whatever they called
tent, yes, over there,
section. So we had a display about what is
right,
permaculture,
yes, I
how to
remember
live
that. Yep,
simply, little tips and ideas to share. And Ron was doing the
right, yep. He had
biking,
his crazy bikes. Yep,
the grinder,
yep,
blender bike.
yep,
That was fun.
yep. So the
Solar
first 3 years
panels.
were, I like, the first year they had about 800 people go to it. Next year they had about 2,500 people. Next year they had about 3,500 people. Next year they had 15,000.
Um,
And I showed up, and they had a tent of spirituality. And the guy who ran it came over to me and goes, "Are you a certified psychic?" And I said, "No, but I can tell you're a certified psycho." And I went over to Chris. I said, "Who's this moron?" And he says, "Well, he's paying me money to." He said, "You just kept doing things for free." And he's paying me money to put his tent up there, and
and get the right to say that
he
nobody else can be here
right,
unless you're certified by
exactly,
so and
by
so.
him. So that was the last
Oh
time I was
well,
there.
free love.
Yep, yeah, that's like they don't understand free love. You know who came up with that term?
No, I don't actually.
Margaret Shelley, Mary Shelley's mother.
Yeah, you should go through a couple of phrases that some people don't
And
know.
so Mary Shelley's mom was a really well-known spiritualist and political. I mean, we need her here now because she started the Paris Commune, which was the thing that brought on the French Revolution, but too many years went in between. And so these guys were all love and abundance, and the revolution was cutting people's heads off. It's like, so. But Mary Shelley's mom,
Love, abundance, and equality.
right? Equal, everybody's equal. So that's why free love, because she didn't believe the church or the state had anything to do with a relationship between people. It should be free. So that's where that term came from. And the term hippie came from our vice president under Nixon, Spiro T. Agnew. And hippies are people who shoot heroin in their hip.
Oh my gosh.
And he was trying to diss the peace movement by calling them dirty hippies.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Spiro T. Agnew. He could turn a phrase.
Oh gosh.
But he was a super duper crook. And he got kicked out because Nixon, Tip O'Neill, and the guy who was head of the Supreme Court were walking into the Oval Office, and Spiro grabbed this guy who was paying him off, and he had a paper bag with like 200 grand in Benjamins. And there was 3 guys, and he went like this, and the bag ripped, and the money went all over the floor. And so Spiro had to leave, and Nixon split it with the 3 guys. That's politics.
I was 8
When that happened,
when Nixon was around. So
I was in my early 20s.
I remember Mom getting a potbelly stove and turning all the thermostats down or off.
Because of the oil embargo, yes.
She
Yep.
was getting into it. Oh, that was her coming of womanhood, after
Being a mother and a
Christian
housewife,
and
kind
a
of. Yeah.
Christian soldier with a bunch of kids to go missionary and realized, oh, that's not what I'm here for.
Right.
Went back to school, started her garden.
Yep.
Freedom garden, that's a good term.
And during World War II, 80% of all the food in America was produced by neighborhood gardens. And they could have kept that going. But after we won the war, oh, we don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to They recycled everything. And they said, nope, we're going to waste as much as we can.
Which was a sense of progress.
Yes.
Of the shiny new thing.
Yep, shiny new thing.
The saving time.
Right.
Idea
Yes, right.
Of
having free
sedating the
time. Free
housewife.
time. Yes.
Is the housewife, here's your blender, but at the same time, it was also, here's your pills.
Right. And here's your cigarettes and here's your booze. Mother's little helpers. Because most of those, my mom had 6 kids. And she had a life before my father. She had a career. Right? And she ruled the world. And then she was, put into a position of being a secondary thing. So she really, that's when my grandma grabbed me, because they came home with me and they were in a little house and they put me in a dresser drawer in the outside porch. I didn't get to sleep inside the house.
Wild thing. Poor little thing.
Yes, that was it. My grandma saw me and said, I'm taking this one. She took me back to her. She had a nice house, so she brought me up. And her best friend was black. And was always had a ton of kids, so her breasts were always full of milk. So when I was an infant, I remember being breastfed by that black lady. Mamo. Her name was Mamo. And her name was actually Timothy. Because she was in a family, 7 daughters, and her father wanted a son. So the 7th, she was the youngest. So screw it, I'm just naming this one Timothy. So she was Timothy. But I called her Mamo. Did you ever see the movie The Jerk with Steve Martin? Where he was left on the, Yep, he was a tenement. He was brought up in a tenement black family out in, Alabama someplace, and he thought he was black.
Okay.
That was me.
Don't see color.
Yep. Keep dancing back there.
Shirt on.
Yep.
Sun goes down.
It gets a little cool up in the hills here. Well, let's see. Anything interesting you guys have to say? Where's my glasses?
Of course it's interesting.
I like to put my glasses to even see it. Okay.
What project? What?
Back to Eden says, hallelujah. Okay. Does she do art? Does she do art? Come on, look at this girl. What else would she be doing? Of course she does art. Yeah, she got a mask. Where's that paper mache statue of Anna Zet?
The gallery.
That was nice. She has an art gallery. Right on. Is that Brambleton Avenue?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Kind of near the Coin Laundry. Very nice. It's what's it called? Maple leaf?
Acorn.
Acorn.
One of those trees.
One of those trees. Yeah. Does she do art? Of course she does art.
Something.
She's an artiste. 1 hour and 19 minutes. 2 people watching. Anything else to say?
What are they into? Are they into any spirituality or sacred
Yeah, they.
geometry?
Come on, talk to us, gang. Let's have a little conversation here.
Have they heard of Sacred G or Corey Herder? Or who are some of the young?
You hear any of that, Corey Herder?
Sacred G.
Sacred
Geometry.
Sacred G for geometry.
He's another breathing. He does these breathing in the mouth,
Out the
out
nose.
the nose, in the nose, out the
Mouth.
or the whole cycle.
Right, that's the cycle. Yep.
And so the idea is that as you hold a memory, a thought, an incident, uh, argument with somebody, and you hold it, you start talking about it,
A
right?
stressor.
A stressor, and you start talking about it, and then you stop and you say, okay, in the mouth, out the mouth, in the mouth, out the nose, in the nose, out the nose, in the nose, out the mouth. So that's a full cycle,
Right.
And so you do that at least 3 times, and you get a little dizzy or lightheaded.
Right.
The idea being that you're relaxing all the meridians and the
chakras and energy points in your body
that were
held.
Yeah.
By that stressor.
By that moment. So the idea is that we can go back to those moments,
right,
to unclog
the point,
everything, the
right.
stuff,
right.
so that it doesn't come up
right.
unexpectedly at different times to basically control.
That get kicked off by a underlying stressor.
Trigger or
trigger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So so I don't. I know a lot of teachers. I mean, I've experienced or read about or learned from many different teachers, and I know there's plenty more out there. So,
yep.
Who are you studying?
Yes, talk to us. It's it's not just us talking to you. You got a fan here. Jane really says, yes, you're amazing. Gorgeous one. Today is Victory Day in Canada. Fireworks. Is that like your 4th of July there in Canada? Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. Called May 2 to 4th weekend. Okay. Anyway. Just going to go off camera for a second. Oh, here she goes.
A few old things, not in the gallery.
You bring them up to the little camera in the.
Oh, this one's sweet. What do you see here?
Is that a work in progress?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
So, do you see the person that encompasses all? The arm, yeah. The hands. Here's a study for one of the sculptures. There's some just the energy, fun, play beginning.
Yeah.
Meditation, persons. We need some clothes and color. I don't use much color. What? Yeah. List everything else I've loaded up in the
car
studio gallery.
Yep. Which is a very nice place. And Roanoke has a number of nice little studios. I like to think that. So is that thing down in the basement of that building? Is that a Garland building?
Mm-hmm.
Off of Campbell?
Mm-hmm. Aurora.
Yeah, that's a nice place. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Artist Collective.
Yep.
Shared studio spaces and shared
Yep,
workspaces,
yep,
gallery
yep.
display
Meditative.
area.
Somebody doing yoga down there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an interesting building. I like how he's got it. It's a lot more than you think it is when you see it from the front.
Yeah, because I guess upstairs is
And it's
condos,
almost like two buildings
maybe.
because you go through that door and it takes you into an elevator that takes you up, and then there's like a you know an atrium kind of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a nice, interesting building. This town has a lot of interesting architecture because of its history.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some great. There's a Taubman. I love that museum. You know they have breakfast there now in that cafe,
Oh, I haven't been.
and they really have a nice omelet. I mean, I almost go out of my way to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So, yeah, I have loved. I have loved
town
this town, but now I'm really sad because I realized that all the places that we've felt free to go into and experience,
stuff
that a whole group of people
can't aren't allowed.
or don't feel like they can.
Right.
Um,
I try and bring them there, and they I just feel uncomfortable. And then the places like, did I ever take you to the Shenandoah restaurant on Shenandoah Avenue?
no, you've talked about it.
Yes, it's this really interesting restaurant that is like um, Cheers meets Archie Bunker meets Sanford and Son, and they have down home food, and it's very affordable, like $8 for a big meal, and they have a pool hall and a gambling den and a dance hall all in that place, and it's like the free for all kind of place, and it's you go there and you can see a Ku Klux Klan guy singing Ebony and Ivory with a black homie. It's like totally whack. I love it. I mean, whenever I want to have a little smile and make me happy, and the lady who runs the place, she really loves me. She like treats me like my older sister or my mom or something. So it's and I've been going there for years, and I'm like, the grandpa Smurf. People, can you look at my palm? You got your runes with you. At first, I thought that was too weird, but after all these years, and I'll get up and try it. And they have Thursdays are karaoke, and Friday and Saturday is disco night. So it's and pretty much everyone gets blasted.
So you would say that was a diverse.
That is the most diverse place in town. And what I love about it is that no one feels awkward there. Like I said, there's Ku Klux Klan's guys singing Ebony and Ivory with a black homie. It's like everyone feels safe to step out of what they think their thing is. And I've had a lot of really amazing conversations with people who would normally not want to have that conversation.
Are they drinking?
Yes, they get libations,
Okay.
libations, and they have a really good bar. I mean, really good bar. I mean, if you want a mixed drink, that's the place to go. And so and about half the people who really are drinkers walk home.
Well, that's good.
So the cops don't wait out. A lot of those bars, the cops just wait for you to get in your car and arrest you.
Yeah.
So, but along Melrose, there there are a number of these groceries. They're not even groceries; they are food deserts. And they're just that one that's across the street from Habitat. Where Habitat moved over to Melrose, right? There's one of those stores. They sell crack, meth, anything you want, right out in the open.
Hmm.
And I'm going to the cops and say, "Hey, what about that place? Shouldn't you be like arresting them?" And the guy who was in charge of that scene, the police guy said, "Well, we're told not to." You told not to? You got to be kidding me. Anyway, they didn't want to take it any further than that, but it's still there. And I went over to the Habitat people and said, "Why don't you guys make some noise? It's right across the street from you."
Who, who did you talk to?
Head guy, whatever his name is.
Had you met him before?
No, but I walked in there. I walked, what, into their office to the back. That's the head guy. Okay, I walked in. I said, "Come here, here." I rolled up his. Look at that. You could see they were freaking in the thing with the paper bag, the whole 9 yards. I said, "You're supposed to be building a community. You let that go on across the street from."
Well, at least you said it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of people look at Al for the first time, and they think he's a guy off the street with.
No, out of a spaceship. That's not even off the street. But see, I don't go away.
Right.
And then I start bringing them white papers, and they go, "Oh, this guy, he's not from outer space." And then I get to talk to them. Then they let me into their office. So the politics here, I'm kind of plugged in. I've been here a long time. I'm not going away. They're expecting me to go away, but I don't, right? And I don't put on better clothes. This one guy said, if you only wore a suit,
Sure.
I said, why should I wear a suit? But there's a library near where I live, and it's like the Valhalla of libraries. This is a New South County library. It's got a restaurant, and and whoever the architect was, brilliant guy, because they have all these rooms for meetings, and the fourth wall is glass, so you can see who's having a meeting. And the county and the state and all those guys have meetings there. Now, when they do that, I, as a citizen, can go into that meeting. Now, if let's say you have a business and you're a consultant, you can rent that room. Well, I can't go into that and bother you. But the county commissioners meeting used to be in there. I used to go in there all the time. And that place, I used to have a tablet, and I would just look up their PowerPoint thing and then look into the documents, and they would be trying to sell an idea, and you could tell that they just took it straight from like 1968. And it's like, and I would start saying things like that, and they get very upset. You shouldn't be here. I said, what are you doing? I pay my taxes. I can be here. And the lady who was the librarian, she's my bud. And so the head guy of the county commissioner, he went and got her, and he wanted to get me arrested. And he said, he's bothering us. And she said, that's his charm.
Oh, did she really? Oh, good.
Like I said, she's my bud. She goes, you have to throw him out of here. She says, no, I don't. He's a taxpayer. You're part of, he has a right to bother you.
Good for her.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Those are the courageous people, because, that's the only thing that's going to change is
right.
If we change in the systems
right.
or in the schools or in the
yep.
business or collaboration project, that if we don't stand up to say something's not right, or
right.
no, I'm not going to go along with that, then we are part of
the problem, right?
But,
And so for that whole year, I would go to her. So when are these guys coming back next? I would be there like for 5 times in a row, to the point that they got used to me giving them a hard time. And a few of them would like take me over to the side and say, I want to talk to you, but don't let anyone see us talking. There was this lady.
Yeah. I mean, think about all the people who can't, I don't mean to say that lightly either,
right.
because it takes a lot of courage, and you could lose your job.
And I don't have a job. I have nothing to lose.
Exactly.
I'm in this amazing place where I have nothing to lose.
So if you can be a confidant for people
right.
who do need to bare their soul
to somebody,
yeah.
And they know they can tell me, because no one would believe what I would say about them, and I don't. See, I have a little. People know they can tell me shit, and I don't spill the beans. Like, you know what they said? No, I don't do that. So, but it's. And the sad thing is, they all go, yes, it needs to change. And what I went, it got to, I was really sick, so I had a lot of time on my hand, and this place was just like 4 miles from the school, so that was my place to go. And people would buy me lunch and stuff like that. So, they had a meeting of the Democratic Party, of the whole state thing there, right? And the guy, our senator, what's his name? Tim, what's his name?
Kane?
Yeah, he
That
was
good?
there. They were all there. Anyway, they said, we want you in here because we read, all those white papers you're giving so and so. He's copying them. And there's some good ideas here, so let's talk. Anyway, so, I didn't say much. I just listened. And then they went off. And there was one woman who obviously was the, the power. The senator wasn't the power. She was the power person. She represented somebody else who wasn't there. And so she was, I've been wanting to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. You're a crazy guy and you write all these things. And I've read your stuff. And she goes, you're not going to get anywhere with any of this. And she goes, what you have to do is at any point, you have to represent either one side or the other. Now, you can change that midway in stream, but you can't. What you do is you want everyone to get along. You want everything to work. And within this, zero-sum game that we have going here, that isn't the place. So you're just wasting your time, kid. And I said, well, it's my time to waste. So she was quite interesting. She goes, you're a smart guy. Stop wearing the pajamas, get a suit. I'll hire you, but you're never getting anywhere if you want everyone to get along. Have this thing work. Have it, everyone have a slice of the pie. And I said, your days are numbered, kid. Because that's not how it works. And if it was how it worked, we'd all be in caves eating slurry, But it's not. There's a higher power that's given us a chance, keeping it going. Let's see. Yay. Transparency. For people by the people. Yep. People by the peeps. That's us. So how long have we been doing this now? 1 hour and 37 minutes. So what's beautiful about this is that this will go up on the channel and people can come back and look at it.
Okay.
And that's where most of the people watch this. There's really, if I get 8 to 20 people in the chat, that's a lot. But when I go back and look at the numbers over a week, 500-600 people look at it.
Very cool.
Yep. And the beauty of this, gang, is that the energetics of this is on the channel. It goes in there and stays there. Yes. And you can share it. You don't have to do it live. You don't get the jolt. I mean, you can go look at any one of those guided meditations and you'll have the experience. Not, you don't have to be there live.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my voice is giving out. So I'm gonna, and there's only one of you. It's probably Jane. So good night, Jane. I'm glad you showed up. And everybody else who was here. It's all good. And now there's 2. And so I'm going to end the stream. Because we're right now in Noceum. They're kind of getting ready to eat us alive. Yep. They're about to eat us alive. So we're going to go in. We're going to go in the house and turn the lights off so they won't follow us.
Right.